The podcaster, even better ball player, and the two-time All-Pro DN might need to fire up the studio again after Friday, because according to his own iOS press release, Parsons has requested a trade out of Dallas. The Cowboy pass rusher made it clear that contract talks have stalled, making this the latest in the public saga between he, his agent, and team brass trying to come to terms on an extension for Parsons. You know it's real when it's a Notes app screenshot. Unfortunately, he said, I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me. Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I've made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally. A lot of folks have a lot of thoughts on this.
Usually, Jerry Jones likes this sort of attention. But when we go back to previous contract stalemates with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb in recent years, none of those players ever issued a trade request the way that Micah Parsons did today. Now it's up to the Dallas Cowboys to figure out how they want to proceed.
I need somebody to go to the Cowboys facility and remove every copy of 48 Laws of Power that are in every front office because this is not the way you conduct business.
Micah Parsons has to sort of like prime the pump to get this done. This doesn't happen in 31 other buildings. Every other team takes their star players and they want to sign them as quickly as possible. It is better for your salary cap and it is cheaper because you don't have another year for other players to get bigger contracts, which is exactly what has happened here with the edge rusher situation with Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and other players signing contracts.
Players in this day and age, in an era of player empowerment, you're seeing it so much more in professional sports, particularly in the NFL. You can't do business this way anymore. It's a bad method and it creates bad blood within the locker room.
And they have to have him on the field. This is embarrassing. Every summer we go through something like this. Jerry Jones, I know this sounds crazy, but you gotta change a little bit, buddy.
What's the definition of a damn fool? Doing something over and over again and thinking something is going to change. So here we are again, like last year with CeeDee Lamb, like the year previously with Dak Prescott. Here we are again with the marquee star on the defensive side of the football, and it's going to lead to us having a conversation sometime in November and December about why the hell the Dallas Cowboys not a contender to get into the playoffs.
And I feel, Marcus, why not pay the man? Parsons has produced a pass rush win rate of over 30% since his league debut. That's the best in the NFL. In fact, Parsons' career pass rush win rate is the highest by any player since the metric was introduced in 2017. The two-time All-Pro has pressured the quarterback on about 17% of his pass rush snaps. It's also the best since his league debut. Parsons is ranked first or second in pressure percentage in every single season among players with at least 200 pass rushes. But Parsons doesn't just generate pressure, he finishes the drill. He has recorded at least 12 sacks in each of his first 4 seasons, joining Hall of Famer Reggie White as the only 2 players to do that since sacks were tracked in 1982. No player has done it in each of their first 5 seasons. His teammate, CeeDee Lamb, who had prolonged negotiations of his own last season, posted on social media after Parsons' declaration, "Never fails, dog. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular." Of course, Parsons retweeted that. It's just motivational quotes and business as usual for their division rivals in Philly, though. The Eagles continue to find what is arguably the best roster in football, meaning each practice pits the number 1 defense in the NFL by yards per game last season against the reigning Offensive Player of the Year. Dan Graziano has more on that battle.
Saquon Barkley was the star of the show at Eagles practice on Friday. He caught passes out of the backfield. He broke off a long run. He scored a short touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Trash-talked the defense as he was hopping off the field. It was a reminder that just because the Eagles have a new offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo, we shouldn't expect too much to change. Pattullo was on the staff last year when the Eagles found Super Bowl success by running the ball with Saquon behind their awesome offensive line, and he's not likely to mess with a good thing.
Kevin's did a good job. I think he's been really implemental, the past 4 or 5 years that he's been here. Being next to our OC, so really big in installing, our passing game attack. And so really it's been a flawless transition. And as we progress towards the season, we just keep better and better.
The last time the Eagles promoted from within to fill the OC spot was 2023. That year it was Brian Johnson, and that season did not end well. But Pattullo has been on the staff now for 5 years. He knows Jalen Hurts well. He and Nick Sirianni coached together in Indianapolis. One person in the building today told me Pattullo is overdue for his chance to be an offensive coordinator in this league. The Eagles are brimming with the confidence of a reigning Super Bowl champion, and that gives them every reason to believe Kevin Pattullo can keep this offense humming the way it did last year. With the Eagles, Dan Graziano, ESPN.
You can tell the Jones family wasn't happy with Micah by the things that were being said. But Jerry Jones may have thought he had a deal done in a conversation with Micah, but he knew that wasn't a deal done the right way. And I think Micah had the conversation because he was eager to be a Cowboy. And he actually went in to have a conversation about leadership that turned into that. And it's fair and also right for him to say, involve my agent. And then David Mulligetta was fully ready to negotiate a contract that was going to be one of the richest in the history of football for a non-quarterback, probably the highest. And this was even before all the other deals were made. And then you get into camp and you're hearing shots taken time after time against Micah. And of course, he gets frustrated. And now everybody has a report about what's going on. And so finally he speaks. And here we are. He doesn't want to be a Cowboy anymore.
Hey, Micah, what you doing, a message that you sending, the business that you standing on is extremely major, brother. The guys like myself, guys who came before you, we failed. We failed tremendously on standing our ground, due to the lack of knowledge and the lack of support entering a world that we was very unfamiliar with. I remember being in that situation like you. Nervous, scared, don't know which way to go. Can't trust my support system. By the way, shout out to David, man. He's one of the best agents in the business. I respect how y'all go about y'all business. So a huge salute there. But like I was saying, man, much respect to you. For real. Do what's best for you. Do I want to see you with the star on your helmet? Yes, I do. I pray that Jerry and them do what's right, pay you what you deserve. You're an incredible talent. You are a superstar. You're worth every penny that you're asking for. And if everything don't work out, you still gonna be great. That's who you are. So again, I appreciate you. I support you. As I always love, dog.
I don't know what's so hard about this. You take the top edge contract, I believe it's Nick Bosa, and then you add some money. Boom, done. I did it, Dallas. It's like not that hard. So the Cowboys right now have no money, right? But there are a lot of moves that they make, a few moves rather, to alleviate that situation pretty quickly. Right now, Dak Prescott has a $90 million cap hit because he's got a ton of salary in the future. You can convert that into a bonus, bring it down to just over 50. Same thing with, well, not the same thing, but with CeeDee Lamb, again, you can convert a lot of his bonus to contract, bring that down. And then if you do deal with Micah Parsons, that's similar to what I just said, which is basically the Nick Bosa deal. Plus, you actually can bring his cap hit down a decent amount too, because right now it's got him on the tag. You do those three moves and suddenly you're at over $60 million in cap space. Now, it would mean you are tying your fate to these three players and that you want them to be the future of the franchise, not just in the next couple of years, but even beyond that. But if I'm Dallas, I feel good about that. I think there's three really good football players. And then you do that, you have a little bit of flexibility to move around and address some of the other positions on the roster.
Show began with us talking about Terry McLaurin wanted to trade. He said he wanted to trade him. he gave him. And then we learned from Diana Rossini of The Athletic that Micah was considering drastic measures, including a trade request or even a declaration that he's severing his relationship with the team. Per multiple league sources familiar with the situation, because the relationship has deteriorated to that point. What would that look like? Well, we now know. Would this suffice as breaking up with the team and demanding a trade? Micah Parsons tweeting out the following. I guess he put it on his notes and then he screen grabbed it and popped it up. It starts with, it was, "Thank you, Dallas," was the headline. Sounds like he's gone. "Yes, I wanted to be here. I did everything I could to show that I wanted to be a Cowboy and wear the star on my helmet. I wanted to play in front of the best fans in sports and make this America's team once again. The team my pops and I grew up cheering for way up in Harrisburg, PA. Unfortunately, I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me. I had purposely stayed quiet in hopes of getting something done, but since there's a confusion out there, let me clear some things up." And then he goes in. Details. "I had my agent reach out to the Cowboys last offseason after my third year in hopes of getting a deal done early. Unfortunately, the team didn't want to start any negotiations at that point. I was okay with that, didn't complain, focused on 2024. After the season, I told my agent again, let the team know that we were open to negotiate when they met at the Combine. My agent informed me I should wait for other deals to get done because the price would only go up, but I didn't care and I wanted to secure myself as a Cowboy long term. This was before any other pass rushers got deals done." And then he also mentioned how I knew I would be leaving money on the table, but again, I was okay with that. Again, radio silence as far as my extension. In March, I met with Mr. Jones to talk about leadership. Somehow, the conversation turned into him talking contract with me. Yes, I engaged in the back and forth in regards to what I wanted from my contract, but at no point did I believe this was supposed to be a formal negotiation. Now comes the big finish. And I informed Mr. Jones afterward my agent would reach out thinking this would get things done. By the way, this is exactly what Clarence Hill told us was happening, right?
Yep.
But when my agent reached out and spoke to Adam, I imagine he's in the front office, he was told the deal was pretty much already done. My agent, of course, told him that wasn't the case and also reached out to Stephen Jones. Again, the team decided to go silent. At that point, we decided we would allow the team to reach out to us whenever they decided they wanted to talk, yet still not a call, email, or text to my agent about starting a negotiation. Up to today, the team has not had a back and forth at all. And he said, at this point, we decided we would allow the team, can you keep going, yet not still a call whatsoever, is what he said. And then we finish up with the big finish here on this statement. I have it here from, again, the NFL Network. Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. Still, I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I've made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally.
Adam is Adam Pacifica. He's the director of salary cap and player contracts.
Thank you, sir. Okay. This tracks with what, the great Clarence Hill told us. And it also tracks with DeMarcus Ware telling us that Jerry likes having conversations with players in his office. They like votive candles. He gets and he sets the scene and he starts talking about, you want to be a Dallas Cowboy. This is what we're talking about. And it also tracks with everybody saying that the new head coach there, Brian Schottenheimer, has talked to Micah Parsons about being more of a leader. And again, what that's about is like, stop podcasting so damn much. Be more of a leader. Be here and be about it and things of that nature.
That's probably why he showed up to training camp.
Well, and that's what he was saying. I'm trying to show that I'm being a leader by being here.